إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار أما بعد. Today's point that we move on to is the next part of point 161 in the Sharh Sunnah of Al-Imām Al-Barbahari rahimahullah. So here Imam Al-Barbahari, he mentions, and this is of course in volume 2 with the explanation of Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan hafidhahullah, that the author rahimahullah, he said, فمن قدم أبا بكر وعمر وعثمان وعليا على جميع أصحاب رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ولم يتكلم في الباقين إلا بخير ودعا لهم فقد خرج من التشيع أوله وآخره. So Imam Abu Muhammad al-Barbahari rahimahullah, he stated here, and of course he is the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah of his age, he stated, and whomsoever gives precedence to Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali over the rest of the companions of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he does not speak concerning the rest of them except with good, and he supplicates for them, then he has left, or he has exited, and he is free from tashayyu', its first and its last, meaning the first of its signs and the last of them. Tashayyu', of course, meaning that he has left the ideology of the Shia. Now this point makes sense, of course, if you remember the point that we mentioned last week. The Abdullah ibn al-Mubarak, he said, rahimahullah, that the foundation of the 72 sects are 4 sects. And from those 4 appeared the rest of the 72. And those 4 being the Qadariyah, the Murji'ah, the Shia, and the Khawarij. So in line with that, that's why Imam al-Barbahari mentions, so therefore, whoever gives precedence to Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali over the rest of the companions, and he does not speak about the rest of them except with good, and he supplicates for them, then he is free from the ideas of the Shia from their beginning to their end. Shaykh al-Fawzan hafidhahullah, he mentions in his explanation that as for the statement of the author, in that which he has said, that whomsoever gives precedence to Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali over the rest of the companions of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he does not speak about the rest of them except with good, and he supplicates for them, he said this is the madhab of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah. This is the path and the belief of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah in opposition to the Shia. And Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, then they give precedence first and foremost to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, amongst the Sahaba to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, then to Umar ibn al-Khattab, then Uthman bin Affan, then Ali ibn Abi Talib radiyallahu anhum ajma'een. And the Shia, they say, in opposition to this, they say Ali, he is the successor and the Khalifa after the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And as for the rest of the Khulafa and the Khilafah of the previous three, meaning Abu Bakr, Umar and Uthman, then it is invalid and it is futile and it is false. And they declare Abu Bakr and Umar, and Uthman for that matter, to be unbelievers. And likewise their daughters, meaning the daughter of Abu Bakr and Umar. The daughter of Abu Bakr, of course, Aisha, they declare to be an unbeliever. And they declare the daughter of Umar ibn al-Khattab, Hafsa bint Umar, radiyallahu anhuma, that they declare both of their daughters to be unbelievers. And likewise the rest of the Sahaba, except for a select few. So this is the belief of the Shia. As for the belief of Ahlul Sunnah, then we have mentioned it. And that's why the author, he said, and that person, meaning the person who is upon the truth, that he does not, وَلَمْ يَتَكَلَّمْ فِي الْبَاقِينَ, he does not speak concerning the rest of the companions, meaning of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, إِلَّا بِخَيْرٍ, except that he speaks about them in good terms. He praises them and he extols them and he supplicates for them instead of cursing them, as the Shia, they curse them. So the Shia, that they revile and they curse and they blame and they rebuke the companions of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, as is done by some of the people. So they rebuke some of the companions, meaning that even those, some of them that you find, even that they don't ascribe themselves to the sect of the Shia, you find that some of them, they will revile the companions and rebuke them and blame them. And they'll speak concerning the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. Whilst what is obligatory is the opposite of that. What is obligatory is that we extol the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, and that we praise them, and that we do not enter into violating their rights and highlighting their mistakes in order to belittle them. And that is because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praises them in numerous ayat of the Quran. And we've covered, of course, throughout the study of this book, many times the virtues of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. So he doesn't mention those virtues here because those ayat, and we've done lessons and lessons on the virtues of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has praised them in various clear-cut ayat in the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, verses in the book of Allah. And Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam likewise praised them. وَرَضِيَ عَنْهُمْ, and he was pleased with them. So therefore, the one who speaks regarding the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum and belittles them or speaks to them in an unbefitting manner with respect to any one of the Sahaba, then he is from the people of Dalala. He is min ahli dalal. He is from the people of misguidance. And he has opposed Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is an opposer of Allah himself. And he is an opposer of his Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam with respect to the rights of the companions. So a person who belittles or speaks against the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, then first and foremost meaning that if he ascribes himself to the Sunnah and that he speaks ill of any single one of the companions or belittles them or tries to diminish their worth and their reputation, then such a person has with him tashayyu', that he has something of the ideas of the Shia, even if he claims to be a person of Sunnah. So it is not to be that person, when you say to him, you have spoken with the speech of the Shia, and he will claim, no, but I'm a person, I'm Sunni, I'm not with the Shia. No, but he is with the Shia because he speaks with the speech of the Shia. So anyone who speaks with regard to the rights of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum, then he has agreed with the Shia and he has opposed Allah and his Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So it is not permissible ever to violate the rights of the Sahaba radiyallahu anhum and to speak ill of them or to belittle them or to diminish their worth. Not a single one of them, لا في أفرادهم ولا في جماعتهم. Not a single one of them, meaning not an individual from amongst them, and nor them collectively. You're not allowed to speak against the Sahaba collectively and nor individually, إلا بخير, except that you speak about them in a goodly manner. And this is due to the fact that they have precedence over the rest of the Ummah. فهم خير القرون, and they are the best of all generations. And they are the best of all generations by the testimony and the validation of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, who said about them, خيركم قرني. That he said sallallahu alayhi wasallam in a hadith in Bukhari and Muslim from Imran bin Hussein, that he said خيركم قرني, that the best of you is my generation, meaning the best of this ummah is in my generation. Meaning the generation among which Allah's Messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam was present, then they are the best of all generations. And then Imam al-Barbahari rahimahullah, he said, وَلَمْ يَتَكَلَّمْ فِي الْبَاقِينَ, and he withholds from speech concerning the rest of them, meaning he does not speak ill of the rest of them, meaning after the Khulafa, Abu Bakr and Umar and Uthman and Ali, he does not speak in an unbefitting manner concerning any of them, not an individual from amongst them, nor them in a collective manner, except بِخَيْرٍ, except that he speaks about them in a goodly manner. As for the statement of the author, فَقَدْ خَرَجَ مِنَ التَّشَيُّعِ أَوَّلِهِ وَآخِرِهِ, then the one who holds this with regard to the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, then he has exited, or he is free from tashayyu', from the ideas of the Shia and the ideology of the Shia, from its first and its last, meaning that he's completely free from them if he has this type of attitude towards the Sahaba radiallahu anhum. And then he said that whomsoever وَمَنْ قَدَّمَ الْخُلَفَاءَ الْأَرْبَعَ, that this is the person who gives precedence to the four caliphs in order of their succession, meaning Abu Bakr first, then Umar, then Uthman, and then Ali, and that he praises the rest of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, then this is the madhab of Ahlu Sunnati wal Jama'ah. And in that, in holding on to that he has dissociated himself and freed himself from the ideology of the Shia and of Tashayyu'. Then Imam al-Barbahari rahimahullah, he said, وَمَنْ قَالَ الْإِيمَانُ قَوْلٌ وَعَمَلٌ يَزِيدُ وَيَنْقُصُ فَقَدْ خَرَجَ مِنَ الْإِرْجَاءِ أَوَّلِهِ وَآخِرِهِ. That he said, meaning Imam al-Barbahari rahimahullah, he said that whomsoever says that Iman or faith, it is speech and it is action, and it increases and it decreases, then he has freed himself and exited from irja, from its beginning and its end, meaning that he is completely free from the doctrine of the Murji'ah. وَمَنْ قَالَ الصَّلَاةُ خَلْفَ كُلِّ بَرٍّ وَفَاجِرٍ وَالْجِهَادُ مَعَ كُلِّ خَلِيفَةٍ وَلَمْ يَرَ الْخُرُوجَ عَلَى السُّلْطَانِ بِالسَّيْفِ وَدَعَا لَهُمْ بِالصَّلَاحِ فَقَدْ خَرَجَ مِنْ قَوْلِ الْخَوَارِجِ أَوَّلِهِ وَآخِرِهِ. So the Imam, he said, al-Barbahari, and whomsoever says that whomsoever says that prayer is valid behind every righteous and wicked ruler, and he says that jihad is valid alongside every caliph, and he does not hold that rebellion, and he does not hold that it is permissible to rebel against the ruler with the sword, and that he supplicates for the rulers for their rectitude and their rectification, then such a person, he is free from the speech or from the ideas of the Khawarij, and the speech of the Khawarij, its beginning and its end. وَمَنْ قَالَ الْمَقَادِيرُ كلها من الله عز وجل وخيرها وشرها يضل من يشاء ويهدي من يشاء فقد خرج من قول القدرية أوله وآخره وهو صاحب السنة. And whomsoever says that the pre-decrees, that the decree, meaning whatever befalls upon this earth, whatever befalls in the creation, all of it is from Allah, the Mighty and Majestic. It's good and it's evil. All of it is from Allah. That Allah leads astray whom He wishes, and Allah guides whom He wishes. So whomsoever holds on to this, then he is free from the sayings of the Qadariyah and from the ideology of the Qadariyah, its first and its last, meaning from all of it, from its beginning to its end, he is free from all of it. And such a person is a person of Sunnah, meaning that if he holds on to all of this which we have mentioned, then he is a person of Sunnah. Shaykh al-Fawzan, Hafidhullah Ta'ala, he said, commenting upon these tremendous words from Imam al-Barbahari of how a person is to free himself from these four sects that were the origins of the 72 deviated sects, he said that as for the statement of the author, that whomsoever states that Iman is speech and action, it increases and it decreases, then he is free from irja, from its beginning till its end, from its beginning and its end. So then Shaykh al-Fawzan, he commented upon that, saying that after stating that the Murji'ah, that they are from the origins, that they are from the foundations of all of the deviated sects, that they are from one of the four foundations of the deviated sects, and that he makes and now he makes clear the madhab of Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, that the madhab of Ahlus Sunnah is the opposite to their madhab, to their various madhabs, because Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, meaning that they are in opposition to the madhab of the Murji'ah, that the madhab of Ahlus Sunnah is in opposition and it is in contradiction to the madhab of the Murji'ah, because Ahlus Sunnah, they hold and they believe that Iman is speech, qawlun wa amalun, it is speech and action, and it is belief, and that it increases and that it decreases, as is proven by the texts of the Quran, of the Book of Allah, and the Sunnah of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And this is in opposition to the madhab of the Murji'ah. This is in opposition to the ideology and the doctrine of the Murji'ah. Those Murji'ah who hold the actions, they do not enter into the essence or the reality of Iman. The actions do not enter into the reality of Iman. As for Ahlus Sunnati wal Jama'ah, then Ahlus Sunnah hold that Iman or faith, it is speech, it is action, and it is belief. Speech on the tongue, actions on the limbs, and belief in the heart. It increases with obedience to Allah and it decreases with disobedience to Allah. As for the Murji'ah they hold that actions do not enter into the essence of Iman. So they do not consider actions, the outward actions, to be from Iman. As for the statement of the author, and whomsoever says that the prayer behind every ruler, whether he be righteous or whether he be wicked, is valid, and that jihad is permissible and valid alongside every khalifa, and he does not hold the validity of raising the sword against the sultan, against the one in charge of the Muslims, meaning the ruler, and that he supplicates for their rectification. Such a person, after mentioning this, Shaykh al-Fawzan said that such a person bari'un min firqatil khawarij, that he is free and disassociates himself and is innocent from the sect of the Khawarij. And that is because the author, he mentioned the 4 sects. So therefore, the one who holds fast to hearing and obeying the Muslim ruler, the one who's in charge of the affairs of the Muslims, and he does not rebel against him due to a mistake that he sees from the Muslim ruler, and that mistake is less than kufr, or that he sees a sin or an act of a disobedience that the ruler falls into that is lesser than kufr akbar, that does not exit him from the fold of Islam. So he does not rebel against such a person due to errors and sins that he sees from them that are less than kufr. Then such a person has agreed with the madhab of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, for that is the madhab of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. And that prayer behind the umara, behind the rulers from amongst the Muslims, he holds the validity of that and the correctness of that the prayer is valid behind them, whether they be righteous or whether they be wicked and tyrannical. And he holds that jihad alongside them in the path of Allah is correct. And likewise he makes dua for them, for their rectification and for their guidance, that Allah gives them success and Allah guides them. Then this is the madhab of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah with respect to the rulers. And whomsoever opposes anything from this, then he has a trait from the traits of the people of misguidance and from the traits specifically of the Khawarij. As for the saying of the author, wal jihadu ma'a kulli khalifatin, and he holds the validity and the correctness of making jihad alongside every ruler. Wal jihadu ma'a kulli khalifatin, that he holds that it is permissible, or that he holds the validity of jihad alongside every khalifa, meaning that if the ruler commands him with jihad, then it is obligatory for him to make jihad alongside the Muslim ruler who is in charge of the affairs of government of his country. هذا هو الواجب. This is what is obligatory, to hear and to obey. السمع والطاعة, to hear and to obey, and to pray behind them, and to make jihad alongside them. Naam. And to withhold completely from fighting against them and to rebel against them. To completely withhold from rebellion against them by fighting them, as the Khawarij they do, meaning that the Khawarij, they fight against the Muslim rulers and they rebel against them. So to withhold from fighting against them and to hear them and to obey them and to pray behind them and to fight alongside them, then this is the madhab of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah with respect to the Muslim rulers. And this is the opposite of what is stated by the Khawarij and the Mu'tazila. Then he said, as for the statement of the author, Imam al-Barbahari rahimahullah, that whomsoever says that the maqadir kulluha min Allahi azza wa jalla, that the decrees or anything that takes place of decree, then all of it is from Allah, the mighty and majestic, meaning that all of the decree, everything that takes place, it is from the decree of Allah. Khairuha wa sharruha. It's good and it's evil. All of it is from Allah. And Allah misguides whom He wills. And Allah guides whom He wills. So whomsoever holds on to that belief, then he has freed himself from the saying of the Qadariyah, its beginning and its end. Shaykh al-Fawzan, he said, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, every affair that takes place, every matter that takes place, every event, then it is from the decree of Allah. Kufr and Iman, disobedience and obedience, poverty and richness, sickness and good health, and other than this, all of it which takes place in the kawn, meaning everything that takes place within the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then all of it is from the ordainment, the preordainment of Allah and the pre-decree of Allah. And there is not an affair that is external or outside of the qada and the qadr of Allah, outside of the ordainment and the decree of Allah. This is the belief of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, in opposition to the Qadariyah in both of its groupings, because the Qadariyah are two groups: those who deny the Qadr and those who go to extremes in the Qadr. As for those who deny the Qadr, then they are the Nufat. And as we mentioned, they are the Mu'tazila. And those who went to extremes with Qadr, then they are the Mujabbira or the Jabriya. So they went to extremes in affirming the Qadr. So the one who believes in that which Imam al-Barbahari has said, then he has freed himself from both those who deny the Qadr and those who go to extremes in the Qadr, meaning the Qadariyah, which are commonly known as the Qadariyah, and the Jabriyah. Then Imam al-Barbahari said that Allah guides whom He wills. Rather, that Allah misguides, yudillu man yasha, that Allah misguides whom He wills. So Allah does not lead astray except the one who takes the means of misguidance. That Allah does not lead astray anyone except the one who takes the means of misguidance, meaning that he is offered guidance and he is offered misguidance and he chooses misguidance. So therefore Allah thereafter misguides him. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stated in Surah As-Saff, ayah number 5, فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ. When they themselves deviated, then Allah deviated their hearts, showing that they were given a choice between guidance and misguidance. So they chose misguidance, so Allah misguided them. There is no mention in the Quran of destruction or misguidance or punishment of anyone except that it states a reason for that. And that is that the person himself was responsible for taking the means of destruction or misguidance or punishment. So therefore, a person who is punished, he is punished or misguided or destroyed because he took the means himself that led him to that misguidance or destruction or punishment. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decreed that for him due to a reason that the servant himself was responsible for. So Allah, for example, would say that if the servant does such and such, then Allah will punish him. If a person does such and such, then Allah will misguide him. If a person does such and such, then Allah will destroy him. So then a person now is shown the path. If you choose it for yourself, then you will destroy yourself or you will misguide yourself. So Allah leads astray the one who took the path of misguidance. And Allah punishes the one who did that which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade him from doing, and so on. And for this reason we say that Allah leads astray whom He wills by His justice, and that Allah establishes justice upon the people of misguidance. And He did not make them, He did not make the people of misguidance the same as the people of guidance. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated, أَفَنَجْعَلُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ كَالْمُجْرِمِينَ مَا لَكُمْ كَيْفَ تَحْكُمُونَ. Allah said, and shall we treat the Muslims like the criminals, meaning the wrongdoers? What is the matter with you? How is it that you judge? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He guides whom He wills from His bounty, subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guides from His bounty, and because He is gracious, and Allah favors them with His with guidance. And as for the one who goes astray, then he goes astray because he is responsible for choosing the path of misguidance after being commanded not to follow it. So when he takes the path of misguidance, فَلَمَّا زَاغُوا أَزَاغَ اللَّهُ قُلُوبَهُمْ. So when they turned away, then Allah turned their hearts away. So Allah describes in the Quran and in the Sunnah of Allah's Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam the paths that will lead you to misguidance, and Allah commands you and the Messenger commands you not to take them. So when a person takes them, he has none to blame but himself. None to blame but himself. Barakallahu feekum. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'een.